Since I have a imposter running around on YouTube and other websites attempting to cause confusion and damage to my work, I wanted to take a few moments to go over some aspects of my work that the opposition seem to think that they can just slide on by and you won't notice. You can see the common attack that they use, the information that is not backed up by any fact, the mud throwing, the name calling, the childish ways that they think that you'll fall for what they're saying without doing the research yourself and looking at the work that they are not linking to but still calling bullshit. So some of the things that they say, like, I'm part of the opposition, I'm part of the families that are scamming humanity and causing problems since day one of this country and date back further than that. The logic that they fail to offer you with that, and rightly so because there is no logic behind it, they fail to explain the fact that I'm the one that brought attention to these actors and their hoax events as far back as the Gabrielle Giffords hoax shooting. I'm the one that released the Greenbergs' personal family photographs. I'm the one that's linked all the fake hoax events that are all drills, all the school shootings, every single one of them, all the way back to UT clock tower shooting, which you can see the work on my website. That was the first shooting at a school campus in the United States. And of course, if you've known my work, you know that UT is the alma mater of the Ritters and all the rest of these family members that we've been exposing that are all linked to the Greenbergs. The Rosenbergs, the Royals of Prague that are from Rosenberg, Texas, they are the ones, of course, that are funding much of the situation that we see today. I'm the only one that's calling these individuals out by their birth names and showing you constantly who they are, the fake names that they use, and linking them all together to the families that I've been exposing since day one of my work on the Giffords event. If you fall for the crisis actor bullshit, understand that there is no such thing as a crisis actor. There's only actors. The term that they've tried to create is an attempt to differentiate their professional careers from the family attacks that they take part in when the media, which is their family's business, attend these drills and then therefore use the drill as content to fill your heads with nonsense and to keep you clicking on videos that are full of advertisements and coming back to your TV to get more fill of your bullshit every hour, every day of the week. Understand that the individuals that are playing these roles, they are related to the media owners. Therefore, do you think that you will see anything on those networks that will ever point you in the right direction? No. That's common sense. Do you think that any book that you could get, let's say, on the Masons or on the Illuminati or any one of the other many fictional stories that they themselves have created, that they themselves print on their own family printing presses, that they themselves distribute through their distribution networks? Do you think that they would ever print something that would be beneficial to you? No. So when you see individuals making blanket statements such as, it's the Jews, it's the Masons, it's the Vatican, understand what they're trying to do. Either they are clueless to what I'm about to tell you, and they are honestly believing in what they're saying, or They are part of this manipulation that these families put in place to keep you spinning in circles and believing more of their bullshit, buying more of their videos, more of their books, believing in the boogeyman, and believing that you will get somewhere by attacking a belief and not attacking the individual, the man behind that actor. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't put the Vatican on the stand. You can't put the Masons on the stand in court. You can put a man on the stand, and you as a man can accuse that other man of the damages that they have caused by their acts. Now, some of you may say, well, how are you going to hold them accountable in the legal system that they created? Well, when you commit a crime, chances are you are going to be held accountable and may go to jail for it. Jail is a very real thing to those who get caught committing crimes. Individuals that are playing these games with you on YouTube, in the media, and the alternative media desperately want you to attack the Straw family, the crisis actor, because they know that it will get you nowhere. It would cause you to spin your wheels, get you frustrated, cause fighting amongst yourselves and those who honestly are trying to do good. So when they say that I'm trying to muddy up the situation, I'm the only one that uses my birth name. I'm the only one that puts my face on my work. I'm the only one that backs my work up and will debate it with anyone, anywhere, anytime, you name it. Do you see any of these other people doing that? Do you see them using their birth name? Oh, well, they can't because they're afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of what? If you know that what you're saying is backed up by fact, I dare any of them to come try to sue me. Sue me in court, real court, a place where you can be held really accountable. You know why they don't? Because they know that I am a man, a breathing man. And if they ever try to use a pseudonym to file court papers, that's a felony. And I will hold them accountable. If they ever try to come at me and accuse me of a crime, that's defamation of my character. And I will hold them accountable. So you will see them fall all around me because they know that if they take that one step over the line, that I'm a real person, and again, I will hold them accountable. Keep that in mind when you are doing research and you are listening to what these individuals are saying. If you ask them, hey, if this is so important, can you prove you are not part of it? They will run away. They won't show their face because they're afraid. I'm not afraid. Everybody knows my address. It's on Sherini vs. Texas. You can see my address. I'm not afraid because you know why? It's not against the law to come knock on my door. I don't have to answer it. But I'm not afraid of people coming to talk to me. So why should you be afraid? Now, I understand there's individuals that have families and children. I can understand the use of a pseudonym to protect your job. I am fortunate that I don't have those things that the opposition can use as a foothold against me. Yes, they've thrown me in jail, they've made up stories, and of course, once my lawyer gets involved, I'm found innocent and I'm out. I understand that many people don't have that ability. I'm fortunate that I have support from my fans, and I actually had support from the NRA with the last Supreme Court victory that I had. So if any of you want to say that I'm not fighting for the people, all you have to do is check out Cherini versus Texas, and you'll see that I forced them to change the handgun laws here in Texas. For the past 20 years, the DA had been using the laws that were written on the book, interpreting them in a way that they were throwing individuals that were co-owners of their property. That means a husband and wife, let's say. A husband and wife that a husband decides to walk out in his driveway with his firearm in his holster on his side, on his own property. Well, the way the law was written, it was interpreted in a way that he's not a full owner, he's a co-owner of the property, and therefore subject to arrest. Hundreds and hundreds of people went to jail. I was fortunate enough that I could fight that. I was on my own property and I was found innocent because of it, and they changed the law. So if anybody tries to say that I'm a fake person, say it to my face. Come here and say it to my face. I dare you. So let's get back to what we're doing here and what we're trying to make happen. Everything that you see on that TV, it's not about the story that you see being shown to you. You must separate yourself from the emotions that they're trying to evoke inside of you with that scripted out story, and understand who is showing you that story. Every single station, every single network that you see, that you have access to on your TV, is owned by one of the big six. If you don't know who the big six are, Google it. You'll learn that everything that is on the TV, cable TV, print, books, magazines, newspapers, advertising, marketing, everything that you see is owned by a corporation that, when you research who owns that corporation and who owns the corporation above them, you will see that there are 6 to 7 large conglomerates like Disney that own many corporations underneath them. Understanding that fact is key to you understanding what you're seeing. The number one priority that they must abide by is to keep the lie hidden from you. So they have to give each other a certain amount of respect, although they are in competition. They won't call each other out and say, hey, they're lying, because that other one can call them out and say, well, you're lying too. They know that that would bring their businesses to the ground. Number one rule of their existence is for profit. They must choose profit above people. You've heard the argument that corporations are considered people. This is correct. They are considered people. But that corporation does not have a conscience. They have rules, corporate laws, and legislation that they have set in place that their individuals that are employed by them have to follow. Think of each of those conglomerates, like Disney, as its own country. The people that are employed by Disney and all their affiliates underneath them must abide by the corporate laws that are in those corporate handbooks that, if you've ever worked for a corporation, you know you get on day one when you go to HR. What are corporate guidelines? They are the laws that that country, that corporation, say that if you want to be paid by us, you must abide by them. That's it. If you don't abide by them, you're going to get fired and possibly sued, depending upon how bad you break those rules. Getting sued by a large corporation like that can be just as devastating as getting sued by the DA and going to jail. It's a devastating and bank-breaking attack. But if you've broken those rules, then you are held accountable. So this is why you don't see Burger King, that is a Berkshire Hathaway company. They have their soda companies that they own, and you'll only see Coke products in there. When you pull up to Taco Bell, you'll only see Pepsi products there. You would think that, okay, if they're a business, if it's a restaurant, that, well, I would want to have more choices for my customers. I want both Coke and Pepsi. No, it doesn't work that way. Because they don't advertise for each other. And if Burger King were to do that, then that would mean that they would be advertising for their competitor that owns Pepsi. The same rules and guidelines must be adhered by the networks that you see in front of you. When you see the Boston bombing hoax, and I've shown that the individuals involved in it are the Eisner family, Michael Eisner, his son Breck, his other son, and his daughter-in-law. When you see all three of these individuals in one photograph, and they're all playing roles as being perfect strangers, and they just happen to be there that day at that time and all photographed together, and you know that that's a Disney family, what does that tell you?
Trying to do, which probably will not be successful, but I'm trying it, to do in the new media what I was able to do in television, even in radio to a degree, in movies and theme parks. I'm trying to figure out where the big play is. And I think the big play is in content. I think the big play is in content in IP, Internet Protocol. And I think in 10 years, the word internet will probably go away, and it's just, that's the way things will be distributed. So I want to be there early. And that's where I'm spending most of my time.
That means that everything that you're going to see in that event is going to be aligned with the Disney corporate policy. Pay attention to these things, because these are those corporate rules that, because they have to abide by them, if you know what they are, it exposes the lie without question across the board, and you can recognize the situation as fake. When you see that the events are modeled after, let's say, a made-for-TV movie, or you have product placement, as we've just said, what does that tell you about the event? It means it's fake. Why would they fake this? Well, as I said before, as a corporation, they need to have ownership of what they show on their networks. If they don't have permission from a company to show their product, I don't care if it's a real news event that the news media comes to your neighborhood and there's the cameraman and they're shooting an event that happened in your neighborhood, and they interview somebody that's associated with the story, and they have to use that interview for some reason, but the person has on a shirt with a logo on it that is not affiliated with their conglomerate. What do? They blur the shirt out. That takes money for them and time for them to do that, so therefore it must be done for a reason. They just don't decide, oh, we don't like that logo, we're going to blur it out. No, it's done because they have to do it. And obviously this takes time and money and resources to do that type of thing. So when you realize that what you see on TV is there in order to generate a profit for them, when they take extra time and extra costs to do things, it's because they legally have to. Need some more proof? Take a look at this article. You read the tagline at the top. Does anything stand out as being awkward or strange? Of course. It's talking about Disney products. He cried at The Lion King. Now, what does that have to do with the story? Nothing, except for it's pushing Disney's merchandise. And Disney was the one behind this event. Now, next time you read an article, notice the awkward statements, the strange mentioning of movies or a product or a place, and know what they're doing. Then take that thing that they mentioned and go find out who owns that thing or who's producing whatever it is they're talking about, and you'll see who's behind it. From that point, you can take that information and know exactly who to look for in these events as being the family members of the conglomerate that is producing it. very simple. Once you know the rules of this game, then it all falls in place every single event. That's why every time they have a so-called school shooting, I'm the first one to tell you it's a hoax, and I can point out exactly who's involved in it because I know what to look for. I know who's going to be involved in it, where they're going to be, and who's going to be standing right alongside of them, their spouse or their other family members. Case solved. Now here's another thing to look for. When you see an event on CBS, on ABC, on NBC, knowing that they are different corporations and owned by different members of the Big Six, but you see the same story and you know they're all competitors. So how does that happen? Well, that story, chances are, it has come from the government. Some agency in the government has handed this story prepackaged to the networks and expects them to run and read the script that's been handed to them to produce with it. Now, why would they do this? Because those agencies, although they are government, they are in bed with the owners of the media because they need the media to do what they say in order to sell their lie about our government to you. I've exposed the loophole that allows them to do it legally with the candidate oath form. Understand that if the media was there for your protection, it would be a whole different scenario. But they're not. They can't. Because they need content.
The phrase "content is king" is a phrase I originated. It's mine. Content will always be king. And branded content, like the brands we have, will always reign supreme. People don't watch CBS. They watch what's on it. They don't watch distribution. They watch what's on it. Content remains king, but let's say distribution is at least a near prince.
If, let's say, I were to start a media company and I was going to be completely objective, show you both sides of the argument, fair and balanced, right, Fox. But if I was going to do it and be honest about it, do you think that I would be able to have access to the president or be invited to sit in the press corps at the White House? No. Why? Because telling you the truth about what's going on is not causing drama. The drama that they need to take place is what keeps you coming back to that TV. It keeps you glued to YouTube, watching clip after clip that's filled with advertisements. Every click, you have to watch another 30-second ad. That's better than TV for them. TV, they get 10, 15 minutes and then you watch 3-4 minutes of ads. And then you're back to the show again. On the internet, you watch 30-second clip, and then you're watching another 30-second advertisement. Watch another minute-and-a-half clip, then you're watching another 30-second clip of advertisements. They love that. They would rather you go online to get your fill, because that means more advertisements that they can play for you as you sit there than they can ever in a whole night of you watching a network channel. That's money. That's profit. They don't care about what they're showing you. As long as you tune to their network, that gets them a bigger piece of the pie. The network ratings are what they go by, and that is how they can adjust their costs, their price, that they can then pass on to their advertisers to put their content on their network. The TV was not created to entertain you. The TV was created to sell you stuff. And it just so happens that in order to sell you stuff, they need to have something that attracts you to it, that you're not just going to get up and walk away from. They need you glued to it so you see those ads. There's a method to what they do that has been established since 1933 when the first broadcast in Berlin. Understand that at that time they didn't have content. They didn't know what to do with the TV. So they started to show government information. Well, people were naturally attracted to the TV, so they needed more content. The TV was only on for a certain few hours a day, and you could only see it if you went to a cafe where they had one TV set, and that's where everybody gathered to watch it. So, of course, there was money to be made with that. So the inventors of that TV, they said, what are we going to show them? What do we do? We have no idea what to do. They turned to radio at the time. This is why you have a commentator sitting there in front of you on the news that talks like a robot. They got their beginning from radio announcers. That's why they talk like this, and they must talk in a very monotone fashion to capture your attention if you were watching a box that didn't have a picture and sound was coming out of it, the radio. That's where it got started. They were radio announcers in the beginning, and it just stayed that way because that was a way that you were used to getting your news from the radio.
Now everyone knows the tactics that are used by government to divide the individuals, to divide the people and then conquer them. So this is the same technique that they use when they created the thing called
the alternative media. There's no such thing as alternative media, all right? Get that through your mind. There's no such thing as alternative medicine. It's either medicine or it's not medicine. It either cures you or it doesn't cure you. Not alternative medicine, medicine. Not alternative media, media. It's all the same corporations. Therefore, if you are listening to these individuals like Alex Jones, this truth movement, they're all just part of the media, disguised as the anti-media, so they can divide and conquer the people who think that they're doing the right thing and supporting something
along the scale of one end or the other of the situation.
Either you're a truther or you are believing in the government official story. Wrong. How about this for a change of pace? I don't believe in any of it because it's all the same thing. When you know the rules, when you know the laws, when you know those corporate guidelines, you can apply them to everything that you see when they gain notoriety. And individuals like myself, as you see, you will never, ever see on their networks. Never. Why? Because I am the opposite of what they are. I am giving you a reality that they want to desperately keep from you. They don't want you to even contemplate for a second that what you're seeing on their network isn't fair and balanced.
You have to realize that each of the conglomerates have their own, let's say, reality news station or show. Dateline, 60 Minutes, 2020, Hard Copy. These are propaganda machines. Along with that, they hire hundreds and hundreds of bloggers and commenters that sit in the back of the studio that you can see behind the news people, and their job is to support the story online. You can see in the Russell Brand MSNBC interview that I showed where they even said that the people sitting in the studio behind him, their job was to Facebook, their job was to Twitter, and it's to support the story that they are pushing. So if you say anything to the contrary to that story online or make a video on YouTube that is opposite of what they want you to believe, you can guarantee you will get trolls attacking you, and they will just be relentless in their ad hominem attacks. That's it. So don't let any of those things affect you with what you believe to be the majority of the people's opinion, because it's one-sided and they know it, but they're not telling you. And if you think any of these conglomerates or any of their news channels will say anything other than what they're supposed to say or what's been told to them to say by the government, then you're crazy. Because if they were to even step out of line for a second, they would lose all access to any important person that they need to interview for any of the government events. So just know that they are assets of the government.
They always have been. They always will be. You must understand that they will never show you anything that you should take to heart and practice. Period. You must look at the history of the media. Understand that every single one of our presidents has had a tie, direct tie, to the major news publications of that time, stemming all the way back to the beginning of the media, all the way back to the times of the Roman days. If you look at the history and read between the lines, because again, remember what I said, they're never going to tell you something that's going to be beneficial. So you must learn to read between the lines and see what the actual truth is that they're trying to keep from you. When you hear them make reference to things like there were actors in Rome and that would support the government's role, what do you think that tells you? It's the same thing that they're doing today. It's the same mentality. It's that same cementing of a government control over the people. It's the same as the things like religion that the royals created. Now, if you want to argue with me on where religion comes from, again, I will argue with you that religion is not as old as they say it is. This is why, and if you use common sense and logic when you look at these stories that are, say, biblical, Christian, and you see those same roles, just the names changed, slightly modified, but the same characters that stem back to the Greeks, that stem back further and to Asia. When you see those same roles in those religions that they claim date so many thousands of years older than Christianity, but they happen to be on a different continent that at that time there was no way that those individuals would have been able to travel to. So therefore it must be older then. It must be real. Wrong. It's not. Logic tells you that if all those stories, the stories of the flood, Noah, and you see the same stories in all the other religions that date back further than Christianity or Judaism, when you see those things, logic tells you that they were written by one source, distributed through their royal connections, their royal families, and predated so the peasants would believe that these are ancient manuscripts that date back to whatever. This is why when you look at the copyright on the Bible, you see it can be distributed worldwide freely, except for where? One place. London, England. Why? How can they copyright the Bible? Oh, well, of course it's a King James version, so, they copyrighted their version. Wrong. If I were to take a book, Moby Dick, and use it and change it up a little bit, and make the big whale a, big corporation, and use it as a metaphor, do you think I could copyright that? No. No, I'd get sued. Even though that copyright is old, the corporations that make the money from selling that book would find a way to sue me. I would have to give them their portion of the pie. So this is a key that you must remember. London, England owns the copyright on the Bible for a reason. They can tell you what they want. You have no way of validating that. But common sense tells you. Common sense shows that It was a tool to keep the peasants in check. Stop allowing individuals who are part of their lie get you sidetracked on attacking beliefs, attacking companies, attacking the wrapper that the individual uses to operate behind, and keep you at arm's length, thinking that you gotta get to the Pope, we gotta hold them accountable, they're child molesters and all that. Bullshit. Why do I say that? Why? Because if a priest molests a child, that priest is a man. I don't care if it's a father, I don't care if it's a rabbi, I don't care what it is. It's a man. And if they damage your property, which your child is your property, they are held accountable. Oh, but we see in the news all the time. You see in what? In the news. Oh, you mean that corporate sponsored thing that shows the Pope and that you tune into to see where the Pope's going all over the country, and you see where all the actors that are around him, and oh, you believe in that, and you buy the books, and you buy the bullshit that they push through those networks? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, do you see what I'm saying? It's on that network because they profit from it. They don't care what they're showing, as long as it's profitable. Every second of that broadcast time must be maximized for the most profit that they can possibly get. You will never see anything on there that doesn't make them money, because that would be against the corporate guidelines, and they would get sued by the shareholders. This is why these corporations have these CEOs that we have shown over and over again are using pseudonyms and are actors. This is the straw man that the corporation uses so that you, the people, the peasants, think that when that corporation does you wrong, that, oh, the CEO gets fired or he gets thrown in jail. No, he doesn't. He escapes out the back with the golden parachute, changes his identity, and is hired to do another role in another country or in another town. Plain and simple. And you think you've won. It's business as usual for the corporation. You see what I did with Walmart, right? Let me refresh your memory if you didn't notice that. The board of directors for Walmart, the Walton family, and all these other high-level known CEOs and board of directors of other companies, if you notice, they were Disney family members. Now, Disney, of course, is another straw family. I've shown this many times. But that actor using that pseudonym name, one of them was Carole King, the singer. That was appearing to be a Walton family member. Well, the minute that I called out that she was a Disney family member, and that another Walton member was a Disney member, immediately, the following day, they were no more. Gone. Why is that? Because that's corporate law at its finest. That right there shows you their weak spot. That is a way that you can force their hand and watch them jump. You may ask, what good does that do us? What it does is it causes them to spend money. And remember, money is their objective. So when they have to unexpectedly spend it, that hurts. And then when you can eliminate that actor, because now you've shown their face to the public, and the public now knows that face, that eliminates just one more family member that they can use, unless that person is very skilled and they can change their appearance enough that I'm not going to catch them again. But again, that costs money. So the way that you attack these individuals, The way that you attack these corporations for now, until the laws are changed, is you cause them to hemorrhage money. You make them spend money to spin or to damage control their stories. How many times have you seen me announce an event is fake and show you the actors involved and the connection to the family, only to see the next day or two that event is just wiped off Google? How many times have you seen a elected official that I've exposed cut and run? You don't need a scientific background or trained in forensics. All you have to do is very simple. Look at the spouse, and you'll see that it's who I'm telling you it is. You must learn to not allow yourself to fall into the story and get spun by the written script. It's contrived with the knowledge of psychology, and they know how to play the people. It's not real. It's fiction. The Boston bombing is as real as the drill that it was. Sandy Hook is as real as the drill that it was. The characters in that drill are as real as who you believe them to be. But know that they are real people, real actors, and they have real lives. And I'm showing you the connection between them all. The Greenberg family members. For example, let's look at Brett Greenberg. You can go to searchbug.com, a free people finder, type in Brett Greenberg. When you see the locations that he's lived, and you see that Newport, that Boston, that these locations that I've shown you his photograph as playing parts in that drill, his family members, Michael Greenberg, standing right there at the Boston bombing. When you see those family members all together in that one event, and then you see that Brett Greenberg, a real person, lived there, lived in Newtown, lived right by his uncle, Tony Greenberg, who they all, with Hoffman's, lived 20 minutes away from the location that's Newtown. When you see that over and over again, in reality, that real person that I've shown you, and you see their photograph there at that event, what does that tell you? That's a person that you can go after, and you can show his face and make it more difficult for him to keep on doing what he's doing. Because remember, it's not against the law what they're doing. You can't accuse them of a crime. That would be defamation of their character, and you could get sued. Unfortunately, that's the reality. Don't attack me for that. I'm just telling you what the law is that I've been told from lawyers. So be very careful when you attack those people. You must do it in a legal framework and understand that you're reporting a newsworthy event. They're not committing a crime. Don't accuse them of committing a crime, or you can be held liable. So I hope that this talk brings you to a point where you can see a little bit of the fiction behind these individuals that claim to be fighting for your freedom and attacking me. Also know that the faces that you see, that these actors use, that these actors show you on the news, are not their faces in their real lives. They go out of their way to disguise themselves. They know the tricks. And in cases where it is a high-profile person that they're trying to disguise, you'll see them use all those tricks together to mask it. Now, why would they do that? Why don't they just hire another actor? Because they can't. They have to keep it in the family, because that family is the corporation. That family is bound by, of course, blood, but are bound by the corporate laws, or are bound by the military guidelines, or bound by their country's military guidelines, and they can't say anything about it. If they were to hire a regular actor, which there are, normal actors, there are plenty of real actors that have nothing to do with those families, but you better believe that if you see a person on a network, like on the Today Show, and they're pushing a new movie or they're pushing a new event, the Today Show is their propaganda arm. Everything that you see on that Today Show, it's there. Big show in the morning. Start your morning off with Today Show. You will see those actors making the circuit. You'll see those same stories on the Huffington Post. You'll see those same stories in the New York Times. It's because they're all part of that conglomerate. This is why they create these events, these staged productions, because then they own the rights to it. And all the other networks, if they want to show images from that event, they have to buy those images from that conglomerate. So you say, Ed, well, how about the presidential elections? Good question. How come all these so-called candidates can show up on all the networks? That's because they have an agreement. You show my candidate, I'll show yours. At the end of the day, when the people make their decision and vote, whoever gets in office wins. What do you mean wins? Doesn't matter who you vote for. You're only giving the business to one of the big six. The current situation that we have, the current president, is a Hearst family member. And you saw Carly, the highest ranking female that was in the presidential run. You see who she is. That's Marty Hearst. That's the relative of Obama. When you see the truth behind the character and you can expose that character, you understand that each of the conglomerates, each of those big six, have their own candidates that they've funded, that they've created, that they've given a pseudonym name, that they own, that they promote. You see those people running for office on all the networks. You don't see the other 100 individuals that have made the cut, that have followed the rules for campaigning, that are running for president, that are real people. You'll never see them on those networks. Why? Because they don't own those people. They can't control them. They can't tell them what to say. They're afraid that if, let's say I ran, if I were to get up on the stage with all those actors, what do you think would happen? You better believe I'd be calling them out. All hell would break loose. They can't control me. They can't tell me what to say. So that will never happen on their network. You will only see their property on their networks. That's fact. So when you think that you're voting for Republican, for Democrat, for Independent, for whatever, you're only voting for the Hearst Corporation, for Disney, for all the other conglomerate owners of the Big Six. That's it. Plain and simple. That's your world that you believe is reality when it is such a small part of the world. Don't allow that small part of the world control your world. Your world is a much bigger, broader, more beautiful place than anything that they will ever show you on that TV. Humanity is the same the world over. We all want the same things in life. We all want to be prosperous. This land is so free that, unfortunately, the individuals that own these media conglomerates abuse that freedom. The thing that they fear is that the peasants will be able to communicate with one another without their knowledge. The internet was created. They didn't see it coming. So, as long as you abide by the laws, and don't cross those laws, they're the same laws that they have to abide by too. But understand the hidden world that you agree to when you sign that cell phone contract or when you sign that satellite dish subscription. Understand you have no privacy when it comes to these technologies. They own it. They own the information on it. They're not going to tell on themselves ever. Stop believing their lies. Stop supporting their actor-based reality. Stop supporting those that use lies and don't back up their information and provide you with why they say what they say about a person. Everybody needs to understand what I've just said, those guidelines, regardless of whether you believe what I put out there or not, because you can easily verify and validate those guidelines that I've said, and you can see them using those guidelines, and they have to abide by those across the board, no matter what, regardless of what I say, regardless of what that other alternative person says. That's your world. That's your reality. Know it. Apply it to what you see. If it doesn't make sense, then it's not reality. So, thanks for listening to this rant, if you want to call it, whatever. But I hope that I've opened up some of your eyes. And just because you think that you're awake doesn't mean that you're aware. So, become well aware. You can go to my site. You can search for the information that you want to know. And if you choose to believe it or not, understand that if you question it, question me, and I'll provide you with additional information, unlike any of my competitors will do. That's why I make myself available. DallasGoldbug@gmail.com, or if you don't want to use that Gmail, like I said, you can do donate@wellaware1.com. It's my server.
What you were looking at here are the dead children of Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook school shooting massacre in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, Newton, Connecticut, at the NFL Super Bowl 2013 Super Bowl. Alive and well, and I'm going to prove it to you. We're going to go down the list one by one, and I'm going to demonstrate to you and show you these so-called dead children. First, we're going to go with this young lady here. This that you're looking at here is the mysandyhookfamily.org website that they recently put up. Let's take a look at Olivia. This is Olivia Rose Engel. Now, what you have to do is you have to understand that these photos, not the one you're looking at here, or actually the one you're looking at here, were taken 4 to 6 years prior to the Sandy Hook event. The photos of the children I'm going to show you are 4 to 6 years old, even though they were released as being current photos during the Sandy Hook movie, the Sandy Hook hoax. I'm going to show you that there are the older photos of these children and the current photos. The children that they're using to go to these events called the Sandy Hook children, Sandy Hook kids go to the Super Bowl, Sandy Hook kids go to Disney, Sandy Hook kids go to the Boston bombing. I'm going to show you all these photos and match up these kids for you and prove to you once and for all Sandy Hook was a movie and a hoax. So here is Olivia Rose. Let's take a look at some other photos of her. Here are a few more photos of Olivia. So you got her image in your mind? Here is Olivia, well and alive at the Super Bowl, 4 to 6 years after the images were taken of her and these other children. 4 to 6 years older now around 12 or 13 years old instead of 5 and 6-year-olds. Olivia. Here she is again at the Super Bowl. Olivia. Here she is again at the Super Bowl. Olivia. Supposed to be a dead child. 5 to 6 years, 4 to 6 years later. Olivia Rose Ingle, still alive. Now for Charlotte Helen Bacon, supposedly killed at the Sandy Hook school massacre movie. Let's take a look at some of the photos. Here is Charlotte in several photos that were released around the Sandy Hook event time. Here is Charlotte at the Super Bowl, still alive and well. You can pay attention to the various features, keeping in mind that this is the photos that you see at the Super Bowl are 4 to 6 years later, after the original photos were taken that were released 4 to 6 years later of the younger child at the Sandy Hook movie. Here is Charlotte again at the Super Bowl as a 12, 13-year-old child. You can see how tall she is now. Charlotte, alive and well. Now for AVL Rose Richmond, Sandy Hook child that was supposedly killed December 14th, 2012. Still alive and at the Super Bowl. Here's Avelli with her parents. Pay close attention to the chin and the jaws and the eyes and the hair color. Now let's look at her at the Super Bowl. Here she is at the Super Bowl. See the chin, the jawline, the hair color, curly hair. Let's take another look. Her with her parents 4 to 6 years ago. And here she is at the Super Bowl. Let's look again. With her mom and dad. And other various photos of her. Like here, 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 and over here. At the Super Bowl. Here she is again, another photo from the Super Bowl. Almost 2 months after they were supposedly killed. These photos are current photos compared to the 4 to 6 year old photos they released during Sandy Hook as the children that were killed. Here is Josephine Gay. You know, this little girl. Josephine Gay, supposedly killed at Sandy Hook, December 14th, 2012. Live in February at the Super Bowl. Josephine Gay. Josephine Gay at the Super Bowl. Let's take another look. You see, Josephine Gay wore glasses most of the time in older photos. Okay? Josephine wore glasses at the Super Bowl. Same hair color, same lips, glasses, hairline. Josephine Gay having a swing with a Ravens shirt on. The Ravens played at the Super Bowl. Josephine Gay with her glasses at the Super Bowl. Now for Ben Wheeler, supposedly killed at the Sandy Hook shooting massacre in Newton, Connecticut. Ben Wheeler, photo released during the Sandy Hook fiasco. See the gentle eyes, gentle face, gentle lips, hair color. Ben Wheeler at the Super Bowl. Let's take another look. Ben Willer killed at Sandy Hook. Ben Willer at the Super Bowl. Ben Willer image released during the Super Bowl. Ben Willer at the Super Bowl. Ben Willer at the Super Bowl. Ben Willer, Sandy Hook. Now for Emily Parker's time in the spotlight. Emily Parker, supposedly killed at the Sandy Hook movie. Emily Parker, paying close attention to the mouth, nose, jawline, of course hair color. Emily Parker at the Super Bowl. Emily Parker at the Super Bowl. Emily Parker. Emily Parker. Sandy Hook kid up is Caroline Previdi, Previdi. On the mysandyhookfamily.org, there is no link available for that person. So therefore, I'm just going to show you a different image. This is her here. Okay. There you have Caroline Previdi. One of the images released from during the Sandy Hook. Now let's look at her a few years older at the Super Bowl. Caroline Previdi at the Super Bowl. So you're probably saying to yourself, how can these children be alive? Well, it has to do because this whole thing with Sandy Hook was a hoax. It was a movie. It was a production put on to get your guns and get your money. Now, why would I say money? Because if you look at the Sandy Hook family website, you will find out that the links that go to all of these children are all about the money. I'm going to pull those links down so you can see them all. I believe you can see those. If not, I'm going to go to one of the pages, for instance. Okay, let's go to Charlotte. Okay, give you a little story about her, and then there's the Newtown Kindness. Newtown Kindness, if you go to that, you will see pretty quickly that on the main page when you get here, there is a donate button. They're looking for your donations, even though they've collected tens of millions of dollars at this point. They still want more money, and they want your guns. Let's keep going. Here's Caroline again at the Super Bowl. Another angle. Another look. And here's Caroline again. Another angle, side pose. Caroline Previdi, once again, at the Super Bowl. There she is on the right. Another shot, Caroline Previdi at the Super Bowl, a couple of months after she was supposed to be dead, yet strangely 4 to 6 years older. Caroline Previdi. Okay, so let's continue. Here's Grace Audrey McDonald on the mysandyhookfamily.org website set up by the families of Sandy Hook. Here's Grace McDonald. Very recognizable chin, cheeks, and mouth, and eyes. Long blonde hair. Here's Grace McDonald at Super Bowl. Don't worry, you'll get to see another picture. See the chin, see the mouth, long blonde hair. Grace McDonald at the Super Bowl. Long, thin chin. Thinner eyes. Long blonde hair. See the chin, mouth, so on. And there's your chin, your mouth, eyes, and long blonde hair. Grace McDonald. Let's keep moving. Daniel Barden. Daniel Barden. He was a pretty small kid. As you can see, he has a unique kind of little face. Some dark brown, almost some reddish hair, dark brown. Daniel Barden, 4 to 6 years later, at the Super Bowl. Daniel Barden. Daniel Barden. Jessica Ricos. Sandy Hook photo released by the families. Jessica Ricos. Jessica Ricos. Jessica Ricos. Jessica Ricos. If this is your first time seeing something like this and understanding that or questioning that Sandy Hook, or at this point it's just completely case closed. But if this is your first time seeing this kind of information, I suggest you go clicking on my channel name, Logic Before Authority, and going and looking at the videos over the last few days that I have put up. They are in reference to it. There are some that I've did recently, and there are some that I did in the past, and they will give you an idea as to what's going on.